chapter 11, verse 25. A generous person will be enriched, and one who gives water will get water. I share my time, talent and treasure as naturally as a tree gives its shade, fruit and leaves. This is most true when I am centred in the source of my inherent abundance, Christ within. On occasion, I may forget who I am and think I don't have enough to give. As soon as I notice these false thoughts, I remember how trees give without effort. I give from this consciousness of generosity and ease, and I am richly blessed. My generosity is supported by faith that knows I am always supported and protected. The tree does not worry whether its needs will be met. It does not negotiate what it will get in return. It freely offers itself. I root myself in this naturally prosperous way of being and generously share my gifts. So the affirmation, if you would like to all share it, I am a generous giver to life.
Thank you, Norma. Now, shall we say together our statement of faith? There is only one presence and one power in our life and in the universe, God the good, omnipotent, expressing each of us as the indwelling Christ. Take that everywhere. We have two Bible readings today. The first is from Mark 9, verses 17 and 21 to 24. Teacher, I brought you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of speech. Jesus asked the boy's father, how long has he been like this? From childhood, he answered. It has often thrown him into fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. If you can, said Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief. And from Matthew 17, verses 19 to 20. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, why could we not drive it out? And he said to them, because of the littleness of your faith. For truly I say to you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you.
That seemed to come upon me more quickly than I was expecting. Good morning, and thank you for being here. So I was sharing with a friend last week about how I've always felt a bond with the Father in those readings that we had. They're the same story, aren't they, Sylvia, from Matthew and Mark, only there's a different twist in each part. And the Father asks Jesus if he can do anything at all for his son. If he can, please do it. And Jesus says all things are possible if we believe. And these are the words that I love, and they are in my mind from the King James Version. Lord, I believe, help thou mine unbelief. The statement of belief comes first, and then uncertainty, and how I relate to that. Later, Jesus gives the graphic illustration that if we have faith even as a mustard seed, we can move mountains. Wow. It's reassuring that as we follow the spiritual path, and even though we might have doubts, we still have more power than we can begin to imagine. One seed of belief can grow into a tree of life, or to put it as the Maharishi from the TM movement used to love to say, we can access the field of infinite possibilities. So our greatest power is that we be willing and open to spirit and source. Freedom comes when we claim the reality of our birthright and understand that the energy of the universe is available to us to create our desires, no matter how big or minute. And the Course in Miracles says, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. One is not harder or bigger than another. They're all the same. All of expressions of love are maximal. We've been talking about doing a Course in Miracles, and that caused me to get a copy this now very ancient book by Jerry Jampolsky based on the Course in Miracles. And in it there's an inscription, "To dearest Lesley, and much love from Lesley." And I didn't give it to myself in a fit of narcissistic pleasure, but it was given me from a friend who I taught with many, many years ago. And there's an amazing story of healing behind it. Lesley was due to have surgery for fibroids, and we'd been doing the Course in Miracles with Graham Johnson, who used to come to my home. And she dropped her children off at the basketball centre in Dandenong one day on a Sunday and sort of was wandering around and drove on up the hill to the Assembly of God church, and people were going in, so she thought, okay, I'll go in too. And the pastor stood up to speak, and he said, I'm not going to speak on my planned topic. For some reason I'm guided to do a healing service. And she thought, this is for me. So she went forward, she had hands-on healing. She said she felt the most amazing energy going through her. She picked up the kids, went home, and thought she was having a miscarriage. She was really sort of concerned. She said she would have gone to casualty, but because she'd had the healing, she let it all happen. On the Tuesday, surgery was scheduled on the Wednesday. On the Tuesday, she rang the doctor's office and said, I don't need surgery, I've been healed. And the receptionist said, there, Mrs. M, lots of people feel this way the day before surgery. Come in, it's all scheduled. And she said, no, I've been healed. So surgery was cancelled, she had further tests, and she had been healed. And her doctor asked, could she bring in the 3 copies of the Course in Miracles, because he was so blown away by that healing. Years later, I was at the tennis centre and at a Wayne Dyer and all the other luminaries conference, and I changed my place midway to get a better view. And who should I be sitting in front of but Lesley? And she excitedly showed me a book of Wayne Dyer's that I had inscribed to her, and she was going to get him to sign it at the end of the conference. But what was evident at my meeting with her was that she hadn't been able to overcome a very serious drinking problem that had occurred during the time that I knew her. And that the memory of that brings home to me the paradox of our humanity. We can accomplish so much, and we can sabotage our good in spectacularly wonderful, grand ways. The story does prove, however, that healing can be immediate. When the doctor says this will take 3 weeks, you don't have to tick off the days on the calendar. And in the same way, many people are giving a prognosis and they've outlived it. You've only got a few weeks to live, doesn't really mean that if we can change our thinking, or as Deepak Chopra tells a story, a wife changed a man's thinking. She refused to allow any of the medical profession to tell her husband that he had a terminal illness. She kept telling him he was fine, and he did recover. So just like Father William, if we believe strongly enough, we can achieve. Health and finances are linked because they're so much affected by our range of vibration. And science has proven what the mystics of the ages have always maintained, that all matter is actually an energy soup of vibrating particles. All colours, thoughts and feelings have a frequency, and the now very popular law of attraction states that like unto like is drawn. Every thought and feeling offers a similar signal to a radio signal that the law of attraction recognises and matches. The Abraham Hicks material, the channeled material that Esther and Jerry Hicks started off with years ago, tells us that we're all leading our own unique lives that cause our unique frequencies based on our experiences. Signals flow from us, and these signals summon vibrational matches. Our inner being experiences the expansion or contraction of that summoning. The non-physical part of us revels in that expansion. Here's a lovely quote from The Amazing Power of Deliberate Intent by Esther and Jerry Hicks. Future generations will benefit from the desires that are now emanating from you and from their subsequent attraction and power. It is our desire that you receive the benefit of them too, right here, right now. We covered the need to develop awareness in our classes on Eye of the Storm, and Jeanette also talked about that last week. Having an awareness of our thoughts and emotions is a guide to where we are regarding money and health. We get what we feel about what we think about. We have an emotional guidance system, but we can't receive guidance from spirit outside our personal belief system. Years ago, I was driving along and I heard an interview by John Fain with Deepak Chopra. And it was when John Fain was much more sceptical, and Deepak was talking about the value of meditating twice a day, and John Fain, with total scepticism in his voice, said, "You mean to say if I meditate twice a day I'll heal my blood pressure?" And Deepak, in the flattest voice, said, "You won't, because you don't believe." Wasn't in his system to accept that. We're free to choose the direction of our thoughts. If we choose to hold on to old grievances and beliefs, we're blocking our connection with spirit. All the traditions tell us that. And Gary Simmons in Eye of the Storm gives us techniques that we practiced in our classes, like centering and breathing before we react. Jerry Jampolsky says, quoting the Course in Miracles, that we can't love when we feel fear. Being fearful, he says, is a cry for help. It's also hard to love if we feel guilty. Learning to accept others without judging is therefore good for us because it helps us accept ourselves. Because we're affected by our own vibrations, everything we think, say or do acts like a boomerang. If we can release the past, we allow for an instant of healing where the always present love of spirit is available in the here and now. Jerry Jampolsky tells the story of being in a restaurant and he's really cheesed off with the waitress giving him slapdash service. And he felt sort of justifiably angry, and then he changed his thinking and thought, well, what if she's just lost a loved one? So instead of holding on to his anger, he gave her a generous tip and felt so much better than holding on to that anger. And he says, give up the idea that justified anger can bring peace. It can't. And here's an affirmation from the Course in Miracles. Today I have the goal of inner peace. I will view without judgment everything that occurs. Would you like to say that together? Today I have the goal of inner peace. I will view without judgment everything that occurs. And giving up our grievances has been proven to be healthy. A doctor at the Gawler Foundation a few years ago talked about our vibrational frequencies, and this chart really matches so well what she said. This isn't just sort of out there thinking, it's now medically accepted that how we think can affect our I'm going to say that in a minute, our physiology, but we can be contracted and closed off, or we can be more expanded. We can move up to what St. Paul says with the fruits of the Spirit, love, peace, joy and gratitude, which really opens us to all the good. The more expansive we can feel, the more our good flows to us, and the better we feel, the more the good flows. Abraham Hicks Material gives examples of how we can deliberately move up the scale. On the emotional guidance scale, good feelings are at one end and the bad at the other. The higher we can move up the scale, the more quickly we'll manifest our desires. And it's very obvious, isn't it, that when you're down there with fear and grief and depression, you're really closed off. So here's an example of how we can change our thinking. I get a bad diagnosis of an illness that runs in my family. My desire is to be healthy, but there's discord because I feel fear. An example of an effort to move the relationship between my desire and my current belief runs like this. A diagnosis is not a death sentence. People have recovered from this. There are many degrees of sickness with the same label. There are mild cases. I haven't been feeling bad. Actually have a healthy body and lifestyle. I'm always quick to bounce back from an illness. Result, my vibration moves up from fear to hope and optimism. And we all do this, I think, sometimes consciously. You cook something and it's a disaster and you think, my friends will never come back to eat, and then you work out that no, we can make do with whatever we've got, and then we get out of our whatever state we're in. It might seem a tall order if you've got a serious illness, but I've seen so many people at the Gawler Foundation move through a similar process to bring amazing healing, and even if they don't heal physically, they heal emotionally and spiritually. So they might be sick in body, but open and loving. The work of Candace Pert and others proved to the medical profession what Myrtle Fillmore proved over a century earlier, that our thinking affects our immune system and therefore our biology. Our emotions have a powerful effect on the release of neuropeptides that carry information around our body, and endorphins are part of that system and have a powerful effect on the immune system and actually on the openness of blood vessels. Endorphins are the feel-good chemicals, and therefore happiness and pleasure are really built into our body-mind system. We're meant to feel good. We can actually circulate endorphins at will. And William Bloom wrote a book on this called The Endorphin Effect. And one of his headings is Cats, Soccer, Sex and Chocolate. His way to endorphins. And they've actually proven, haven't they? They have animals in nursing homes for people to pat so that they circulate the feel-good particles. Just as we have a God particle in science, I'd like to offer the theory that there's the God chemical, and that's endorphins. other ways to circulate endorphins that we all know about, and we all have our particular ways, are meditation, listening to music, being in nature, being in the present moment, dancing. The list goes on. Jenny's Laughter Club is a proven way to do it. So is 20 minutes of moving your body in exercise. And I can tell you a bit of a secret about how shallow I am. I love to go out for a cup of coffee. And the other day, I went to Lockie, grandson Lockie's little service. He became a class captain, and he went up with a shy, cute, proud smile on his face, and my heart gave a little lift. And I was telling Jim, just the thought of going out for a cup of coffee, my heart did the same little lift. So that really does do it for me. Not that you can sit and drink coffee all day, I'm not advocating that. So increasingly our feel-good chemicals bring our vibration rate higher, and therefore our capacity to manifest our desires and heal the body and soul. And that helps us move towards enlightenment. We've got another slide that this really does show how we can move from shame at the bottom, which that doctor at the Gawler Foundation said was the lowest vibration, up to enlightenment. But then there are these levels: peace, joy, love, pleasure, acceptance. And it just can show how we don't just do it for ourselves if we move up that scale. We do it for everyone. We do it for the world. Another way to promote healing in the body and the bank account is to give, and that matched with our daily word today. Catherine Ponder points out that the spirit is the source of our health and wealth, so she encourages us to give freely of our time, talents, substance, friendship and love. She says that there is one underlying disease, and that's congestion. And there's only one cure, and that's circulation. When we give to ourselves, and that is true on so many levels. She also points out that we should give freely without strings attached. She tells the story of a woman she met who had donated stained glass windows to her church, but then she had a disagreement with the minister and insisted that the windows be moved. So yes, you do need to give freely without the strings attached. The Abraham Hicks material says that 99% of every creation is complete before we see physical evidence. Right now, our future is full of potential manifestation according to our thoughts and feelings. By reaching for the best feeling thoughts we can find, we're moving nearer to thoughts of our divine source, just as this chart shows. The better we feel, the more we're allowing our connection with spirit. So there's nothing so important than that we feel good. This is the pathway to health, happiness and freedom. And I've got this lovely quote again from Esther and Jerry Hicks. You are worthy, you are blessed, you are the creator, and you are here on the leading edge of thought to experience the joy of riding the wave of expansion that is the promise of this everlasting life. We're now going to have our meditation song, and while it's playing, please help yourself to a healing capsule. Father William's cure was in ointment form. Yours today is going to be in the form of an oral capsule, a chocolate, a proven endorphin stimulator if you enjoy chocolate. Be in the moment as you take it in your mouth, savour the feelings and taste as you relax, and prepare for our time of reflection and meditation.
Thank you, Bob. Would you thank Lesley for that wonderful talk? Have you ever had a chocolate like that? Is there any left?
Yes,
Oh, you've created a miracle. I believe. Thank you once again. Okay, it's time now for our prosperity affirmation. Let's join together. I am one with the love, peace, joy and abundance of the universe. Great Spirit, we give thanks for these offerings which were given freely and in love, with which we seek to spread the good news of the unity teachings through our Christ way of life. So be it. Amen. Thank you. We have a sister church in Nigeria, and we received photographs that looked a little bit like that. So it's a work in progress. We'll see what happens when we get more photos. Now, if anyone would like attention after the service, prayer or energy healing, please come up to the front and you'll be attended to. And we have our prayer box if you'd like to put someone's name in. And we've had some wonderful news about a few people who have received great benefit from the prayers here. Next week, meditation at 9:30, and Ros Goldsborough, licensed Unity teacher from New Zealand, will be here. And claim your inheritance. She knows what she's talking about. She really does. She's amazing. And of course, we'll be talking about this book as well, Before and After, The Soul of Money, with Leanne Twist. And it's down there, as so are the new daily words. So that's next week. Now, thank Lesley once again for that. Greetings, Jill and Robin. Thank you. Daily words, Norma, you've done it. And Bob for his cantoring, and Jim for our chair, and also double today. Thank you. I think I've covered everyone. Brett for filming us. We're going to try out filming a few services, so we need to make up room, so I think it's going to be that one. Okay, would you all be upstanding as we sing the peace song?